He expressed warnings to others of a force so menacing and unbeatable, it could only be described as supernatural. He called them ghosts.
Sup people, Mike here, and this is Mission 3 No Man's Land for Call of Duty Ghosts, Veteran Difficulty, and Intel Guide. So this is the first point where you get to control Riley. Actually, this is the only mission you get to control Riley. This second guy, I don't know if it was because of where I was, but he actually started to run away, and I got really nervous because I thought he was gonna alert the guys in the next area that you have to deal with. But I think they're two separate areas, so instead of him running through here, he just ran past the car, and Hesh was able to kill him. So yeah, I don't know. He's never like ran like he did there, so I guess because I was so close to the building, he panicked and started to run. I'm not sure. But the level specific achievement in this mission is to kill, I think it's 10 enemies as Riley. At the very beginning of this mission, you are in control of Riley, but it switches back to you as he jumps on the enemy. So I don't know if that first guy counts as a kill towards that achievement. But I basically show you like all the guys that you have the ability to kill. So I died here because of a bad grenade throw on my part. I was trying to, and I almost died there. I didn't even get the grenade indicator for that one. So that soldier must have been cooking that bastard before he threw it. There's been a couple moments during these missions that I've recorded where I've had to duck out of the way of a couple grenades. There was one where I had one grenade explode, and I had to jump away from a second one that was just like that one, where it just exploded enough to damage me but not kill me. But I ended up dying during that section, so I couldn't even include that in, I think that's the 8th mission. So yeah, it's not as bad as World at War, but they do chuck a few grenades at you on Veteran. So definitely need to be careful of those. So the problem I have with doing voiceovers is that I'm always just referring to exactly what's going on in the video instead of like, I feel like I'm too like specific on some of my commentary. Like, you go in this area and you shoot all these guys, and then you need to move on. The one thing I do like during this thing is that you can direct Riley to attack certain enemies, which comes in handy more so, I think more so in the next mission when you get into the football stadium, I think is what you're in, or is it a baseball stadium? I can't remember. It might be the baseball stadium because we're in San Diego right now, so I want to say it's probably a baseball stadium that we're in. But yeah, that comes in handy during that one when you bust into that place, just because there's a fuck ton of guys in there. But you do get a grenade launcher during that section, so that comes in handy somewhat for crowd control in that section. And in the building that we need to go into is where the intel is. So the first time I play through, I walk completely past it because there's certain areas where you'll see a laptop, but it's not the laptop, that's the intel. So it'd be like I see a laptop, but I wouldn't go right up to it. So I'm just like, oh, it's just a normal laptop. But it turns out it's the intel. There's one in chapter 6. The one in chapter 6. Where it is right opposite it is another laptop that's just a laptop there. And the first time I went through, I went to just a normal laptop and didn't even pay attention to the one that was across from it. So they kind of fuck around with you on some of that stuff. Be careful of those guys that I was just shooting at, because I've not been killed by them, but I've taken a lot more damage from them, mainly because I just always forget that they're right there. So I was prepared that time, but there's been other times where I just forget that they're there, and usually there's one, but there could also be two, and if they're both shooting at you, you probably will die. So and you can get spotted here if you don't get in the cover quick enough. The first time I played through that happened, I just reloaded checkpoint because it was one of those moments where I think I was jumping in the cover as they came by, so it kind of fucked me over. And then this is the second and last part that we control Riley. It's weird, they made such like a selling point. Well, no, they made a selling point in this game. Like, it's like, oh look, you get to control this dog, and you do it for one mission. I mean, if they had this option like more than once, it would have been cool. But outside of this and the next mission, you don't even have the option of the dog with you. Well, I think you get him towards the end of mission 5, but I like completely forgot that I had him, so I never even used him as an option of sending him after the soldiers. And then in, I guess, Call of Duty logic, as long as you're crouched in grass, you can't be seen unless you're like right on top of a guy. So it's that very iffy AI mechanic that they could be looking directly at you, but as long as you're crouched and not moving, they're blind as a fucking bat. Which is really apparent in mission 9 when you're literally crouch walking through knee-high grass by like 10 soldiers, and not a single one of them see you or your 5 teammates at all. I don't know. It's like, I'm glad it's not like overly difficult, but it would have been nice if like the stealth mechanic was a little more had more of a challenge to it. So there's I believe the 10th guy, and kind of need to be careful there, because if you're not quick enough on those two, they may alert the other soldiers. The previous time on the 360 version, when I did that achievement, that second guy didn't get alerted to having me kill the first guy with him. So just be prepared once you kill the first of the two guys to immediately get on top of that second guy to kill him. But I believe I want to say that there's 2 additional guys up here that you could possibly kill if you don't want to go after those 2 guys that I did. Because I passed 1 guy, and I think, yeah, and then there's another guy. So if you don't want to risk it on those 2 that I killed, you have 2 more guys like right here that you could take the chance on killing if you don't want to risk getting seen. So
good boy, Riley.
But
Starter 6, we're headed to your position.
once we get back in control of Logan, this moment up here with the wolves is kind of stupid. It's like it basically throws you into like a quick time event, which is kind of stupid. So I'm like coming up, like I try to shoot the wolves because I wanted to see if I could like cancel out the quick time event, but it's pretty much unavoidable. And I actually want to redo this mission and just not hit X just to see how cool the death animation is. Like, I'm assuming is you just see it like rip into your face and you die. You know, you get this whole thing of him diving in and saving you, and there's a whole little dialogue here that I cut out just for time reasons. It's pretty pointless, so I didn't see the point of including it. And then we have like one more firefight to do. The hassle with this one coming up is there's not a whole lot of cover, and there's some guys on like the second floors of some of these buildings that have a bit of a height advantage on you. So this fight can either be pretty easy or somewhat difficult depending on how things go. And I take a couple hits here that I probably could have avoided, but things were, you know, it's kind of hard to tell where all these guys are, mostly because your teammates are somewhat helpful, but then there's times where they're just very bad at killing enemies for you. There's been some sequences later on where a teammate runs into a room and goes into the next room next to it, and then I go through and then there's a soldier like right next to me shooting at me. And I'm thinking like, why the fuck wasn't he shooting at my teammate? But as soon as I come in there, he's unloading his gun on my face. I don't know, it's I've noticed that some of the AI in this game is kind of funky at points. It's like they know that the guy that just ran in is not a controllable person, but as soon as you walk in, they're like, oh, shoot him. And so there's been a couple points in the later missions where I've died because an enemy didn't shoot at my teammate, and my teammate didn't shoot at him even though he ran right past him. But as soon as I enter the room, I'm getting shot in the back and dying. So and for some reason, I don't know what it is, but going into this area, you can always catch, usually it's 2 guys that come running past the area, like, it's the only point I've had in a Call of Duty game where I've actually caught a deliberate like spawn point of enemies. Any other of the games, they've already moved somewhat out of the original spawn point, but that's like the first time where I've specifically have seen them like spawn out. So I don't know. It's a good advantage to take that guy out. But that does it for the third mission, and I'll see you in mission 4. Peace.